I've noticed that there are a few people out there who actually get it. They understand how this works. Um, they realize that even though interest rates are super high, people are still telling everybody else that it's a good time to buy a house. And I've explained this all before, and that's because real estate is a complete and total scam. It's complete horseshit. The only people who do make good money off of real estate are those people who buy and get rid of real estate as quickly as possible. Now, if you happen to own, I guess, what you would consider premium real estate in, let's say, like Manhattan, then you might want to hold on to it. But everywhere else, a lot of people learn that being a landlord is not all it's cracked up to be, and that they actually need a, well, I don't want to say second job, but yeah, second job. Now, there are people in real estate, agents, who just pretty much show people houses, and that's how they make their money. They get a commission from, I guess, opening the door. So you can make money that way. Not always easy to do, but people do it. But here's the thing with real estate. Real estate does not actually gain any value. I've explained this before. Like I said, a house that used to cost $100,000 now costs $500,000 and more. But the reason it didn't gain any value and it only went up in price is because all the other houses around it also now cost $500,000. So if you were to want to sell and move into a better neighborhood, I'll explain that in a second, you basically would take that money that you made, that you really didn't make, I'll explain that also, and start all over again in a better neighborhood. Now, the reason I say better neighborhood is because, like I stated before, if every neighborhood were a good neighborhood, real estate would be worthless, financially and politically. Now, let me explain to you once again why your house didn't actually gain any value. It only went up in price. Most people, they'll buy a house. Let's say, again, they bought a house $100,000. And 5, 6, 10 years down the line, they sell it for $500,000. They look at it and they go, wow, I've just made $400,000, except for the fact that they don't add in all the things and all the money that they've already put into that house. Now, many people, and when I say many people, I mean most people, can only pay the minimum of their mortgage. Meaning by the time that they would have finished paying that mortgage, they've paid almost 3 times what they paid for. So when you add all these numbers together, you didn't make $400,000. You made whatever the check is, the $500,000, minus the original $100,000, plus everything else that you spend in that house. The renovations, the mortgage, interest and principal, the insurance, the taxes, the general upkeep, the utilities. All of these things has to be added up into that before you can say, oh, look, I made a profit. That's how this works. And a lot of people, a lot of homeowners, that first year, they'll get back a nice chunk of change on their taxes and then notice that it only happened that first year. It's just the way it is. And again, you don't have to believe me. Go crunch your own numbers. See what you come up with. There's a reason that we live in a 2-income economy in this world. And notice I said this world because this isn't a America problem or a British problem. This is a world problem. We live in a 2-income world. So for all the people out there who are looking for somebody else to take care of them, that's not how this works. Now, I want people to take a note that, again, even with high interest rates, there are still many people out there who are yelling, it is a good time to buy a house. Ask yourself why. Now, I'm not going to go back into the history of how real estate became a scam. You can look all that up for yourself. Just to understand that there was a point in time where only certain people were allowed to own property. And even when other people got the opportunity to own property, they didn't get to own property where they wanted to, or banks charged them much higher interest rates than other people. You can look that stuff up yourself. We're not going to get into that history. This is not a history lesson. This is a today lesson. It should be a history lesson because the things that happened in the past are happening now and they do affect today. Okay. Gerrymandering is something that goes on, and that's the political side of real estate. But like I said before, if all neighborhoods were good neighborhoods, real estate would be worthless both financially and politically. Now, gentrification is something that never stops, and it really never could stop because, like I stated before, for you to take that money and then go move into a so-called better neighborhood, you'd be starting all over again, meaning that the neighborhood you left behind is now decreasing in not value but price. Because understand, the value doesn't go anywhere. And this is how gentrification takes place, because then developers and investors jump into these neighborhoods that people have abandoned and they raise the price. Again, notice I said price, not value. But here's how you know real estate is a scam for sure. Because when it comes to real estate, the only thing you are paying for is space. Your space is not getting any bigger. Please explain to me why the hell the price is going up. If I am paying, if I'm paying for something and that something is not changing at all, why am I paying more for it tomorrow? Now, the second part of this, I guess, economical or financial rant is inflation. For those of you who haven't noticed, inflation is something that is always going on. It's not something that's, oh my God, this person took office, inflation just, no. For those of you old enough to remember, you could get a McDonald's meal for like $2. I mean a meal, sandwich, burger, soda. That same meal today costs $10. You guys think that happened because one person took office? Are you stupid or what? In the year 2000, gas was around $1, $1.19, depending on where you lived. 2008, gas was what, $7 in some places? Then it dropped back down to about $2.50. Then it went up a little bit to $3 again. Then it dropped back down again. And then COVID hit and it dropped again. And people were like, ooh, look what Trump did. Not sure how Trump gets credit for this, because presidents control absolutely no prices. None. Not even a little bit. That includes the stock market. Quick side note to the 40% of Americans, and yes, only 40% of Americans who actually have a 401k plan. The person in office has absolutely nothing to do with that. As I keep showing you on Twitter, I will post pictures and a few videos of the stock market on a daily, sometimes an hourly basis, going up and down, up and down. Up and down, up and down. It does not care who's in office. You know, I bet everybody remembers the, what was it, GameStop, Bitcoin, and what happened? Wall Street pretty much changed the rules and said, screw that, you're not doing this again. You know why? Because presidents don't control these things. Wealthy people moving their money around, that's what controls the stock market. That's what affects your 401k. When you learn the fact that your employer makes money off of your 401k, again, go look it up. I'm not going to get into the lesson. It's already 10 minutes into this video. Go do a little reading. I think information hits a lot closer to home when you read it yourself. And read, I don't mean hearsay because you heard some jackass on TikTok say it, or Facebook or whatever. Go read for yourself. Don't cherry pick certain sections. Read the entire thing. Go directly to the source. Don't tell me that it's being reported by one person, but you're showing me another source. Don't do that. That's nonsense. I hate when people do that. But inflation is something that's always happening. And the crazy part about inflation is the one thing that should make prices rise isn't what happens to make prices rise. You're telling me that something costs $1 today and tomorrow it costs $3, yet nobody who's working at that place got a raise. That's the one thing that should affect prices. Now I'm going to get the nonsense argument about supply and demand. I hate this argument, supply and demand. Supply and demand is complete bullshit. Now, as the population of the earth grows, the population of countries grow. But the population growth in America has actually been on a decline. What does that mean? Well, a lot less people are having kids. It's recently leveled off and it's staying steady now. And you'll say, well, what does that mean? What it basically means is there really isn't a demand for anything to be supplied more than it was before. Unless, of course, you have some kind of disaster and your state is completely underwater and then people just take advantage of you in your time of need. That is the only supply and demand people are referring to. When people need to take advantage of you. Other than that, supply and demand is complete bullshit. First of all, you cannot demand something that's not being supplied. But you can supply something that is not being demanded. Think about that. I hear people say things like, well, used cars are really hard to find. That is true. A cheap used car that runs decently is hard to find. You know why? Well, because insurance companies would rather total a car. That means that the estimated repair cost would be more than the car's worth. So they'll just give you the blue book value for it. They would rather total a car than pay to fix it. Which is weird because insurance companies are supposed to be there in case shit happens. Who made that joke? I think it was Chris Rock, right? Instead of insurance, it should be called in case shit. Was it Chris Rock? Let me know in the comments who that was. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Chris Rock. But that's the way this works, because with the car industry, if you could keep your car, would you run out and buy a new one? The reason I paused there is because I was thinking of a car that I had before, and I was involved in a hit and run. I was completely rear-ended, had no idea what happened. The car in the back of me was completely smashed in total, and it was going to cost way more to fix it than the car was worth. And that's a shame because I actually liked. Oh, for those wondering what kind of car it was a Dodge Charger, and I actually liked that car. It wasn't brand new, but it was well kept. It was well maintained, and I just let's just say I really liked that car. But yeah, it was totaled, and I was like, damn, that's a shame because I got it at a good price. And I was like, there's no way in hell I will ever find something like this again at that price that I paid for it. So that's what, I'm sorry, I'm distracted by the dog. But yeah, that's part of the reason why it's getting harder to, I guess, find good prices, because companies need you to buy new products. There's no money in selling you stuff. The real money is in repeat customers. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that people also have with the medical industry. They look at patients as repeat customers. But yeah, that's what this is all about. We have to get you to keep buying things over and over and over again. That's part of the con of real estate. That's definitely the con in supply and demand. And it's pretty much the way the economy works. You know, if companies had to stand behind their products for the life of however long you wanted to own that product, how many companies would stay in business? That's just that's the way it works. And I know I give these rants, and I do these rants because I like the conversations that it brings up. And a lot of people will throw out their textbook definitions of things, and I just like pointing out everything wrong with the textbook definition of things. And I think that's why I started doing these videos. Well, that, and I want to see if I'm the only person who thinks this way, because sometimes I feel like I am. Like, I want to know if anybody else notices these things. Can you see it for yourselves, or like, you know? But that's pretty much what I wanted to say in this video. And I don't have any. Somebody told me I should start saying subscribe and follow and all this stuff, and I don't really want to do that. I used to do it on Twitter. When I would send out a tweet, I'd always end it with subscribe, because I always put the link to the YouTube on there. And it just doesn't feel right to say it, because I don't really care if you subscribe. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to sell you a t-shirt or a hat or a subscription. I don't need your rating. I don't need your votes. You know, I just need people to pay attention and to like open your eyes, and let's just listen to each other, have a conversation, and see what happens from that. You know, that's all we need to do in this world. Sit down, talk, see what happens. And maybe somewhere down the line we can get some shit done. All right? So I guess until next time, right?